Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Cowboys Takeover. We are in week 2 of the regular season, and this week we get the New York Jets. After such a masterful performance that Aaron James and I discussed last week, this week we come in a team where early in the preseason we thought that we were going to see Aaron Rodgers week 2, and stuff happens last week, and he gets hurt and he's out. So let's bring in Mr. Aaron James to discuss also what the defensive scheme could look like for the Bills this week. Or no, the Jets defensive scheme that they used against the Bills last week to really dominate and shut them down, right? So even they did lose Aaron Rodgers, that Jets defense stepped up huge against an all-pro quarterback, a Stefon Diggs, that offense you thought once Rodgers went down, I think we all thought blowout win. And that defense came up huge, which to me kind of worries me this week because they shut down the Bills team that really seemed to be running on all cylinders last week and, or all season last year. And they just last week, you figure they get all the momentum first quarter, first play or second play. Rodgers goes down. Bills got to feel great. And they couldn't do a lick. That defense really played great. So what did you see? Did you see that Jets defense really use against that Bills team?
Yeah, well, I think, as we get into it, and as you viewers see, and great to be with everyone this week, I think some of it was a little bit of Josh Allen as well. I think he played a big role in the 3 interceptions, keeping the Jets in the game. So I kind of have a feeling as Bryce Hall, he's going to be a headache for us. But as I have a feeling that I'm on the side of the Bills losing the game more so than the Jets winning. But here we are. We're going to break down the defensive scheme that the Jets use because and after doing some homework, it's highly likely we're going to see a lot of the same setup going into week 2 for us. So for one, Jets run a zone scheme. Majority of their plays, as you see here, okay, well, that's a run play, so that's not helpful, but they run a zone scheme. A lot of their blitzes are zone blitzes. One thing I noticed I was really surprised about, Jason, is that Sauce Gardner, Sauce, I don't know why I'm flipping his name right now.
Sauce Gardner, yeah.
Sauce Gardner. I thought I remember seeing Sauce on his jersey. But big-time player. He didn't follow Stefon Diggs. And for that reason, I think that played a contributing factor with Stefon Diggs coming away with 10 catches.
He did have a big game against that defense. Yeah, you're right.
So I think that's going to create some opportunities and that for those under route throws. So I think we can basically get the ball into whoever's hands we want, whether it be Cooks, hopefully he plays fully healthy, whether it be CD or Gallup. Now, they do have a stud defense. It may very well be the best defense we face all year long, but I think Niners might have something to say about that. But we have to look out for DJ Reed, cornerback, led the team with tackles with 11, and followed by Quincy Williams. Their linebackers are beasts. They go beast mode. They run downhill. Quincy Williams had 10 tackles, but I was
Mosley too at 7. So yeah, the linebackers are heavy in their system.
And then just to finish off, they were able to get to Josh Allen 5 times, so 5 sacks on 41 dropbacks, but also 3 interceptions. So so I think if you add the sacks and the interceptions, it just tells the story of the amount of pressure and duress he was on through a majority of the game.
But that still worries me because to me, I feel like as the Bills, you have to feel pretty confident, especially in your defense coming in, or no, your offense. Once Rodgers goes down, you're like, it's got to be easy. And they took no momentum. So I'm worried because now the Jets defense, they know they have to bring it each and every game now because they do have a pretty talented team. Regardless, you still take Rodgers out. They could be the San Francisco 49ers of the AFC, missing just that quarterback away. I do think Brock Purdy is a much better quarterback than Zach Wilson, but Zach Wilson is, we do forget, I think it's his third year. I think it was the third overall pick. It usually takes quarterbacks, he went to a Jets team that it's pretty awful. That's been through a lot of quarterbacks the last few years. So it's not like he went to a team that was already bolstered with talent. Mm-hmm. So now you put him on that offense. I think that defense says something. I'm really worried about that defense, but I think they make enough plays. So I think that's where we go into what Cowboys offense. What should we expect from the Cowboys offense? To me, I think this is key this week. Last week, the defense showed up. I said it to you before we went live. Dak and this offense need to produce this week. Dak didn't need to produce last week, and he didn't look good. It wasn't a very great performance by that offense, and we didn't need it, so it wasn't that big of a deal. But I do think this week, we can't look past how good that defense is. I think it needs to really control it, and like you said, if they play zone, Dak has to be able to read and make the quick decisions. But they do have like Cooks, they have CD, they have a lot of these shorter guys that I think it's going to be heavy in the run game, a lot of those short passes, and let those guys do what they need to do after they catch the ball. I think it's going to be a big yak game, yards after catch. I think that's what we're going to need to do offensively against a defense that brings pressure, seems very solid, and they had they're a great defense. So Dak needs to show up and play much better than Josh Allen did last week.
I agree with you. So I think Pollard is going to have some opportunities and some checkdowns, one-on-one space to make a man miss. I think Rico Dowdle can do the same, and I even think that Turpin, we saw him out there receive some catches, and I think we're going to try to use that to our advantage again. And Deuce Vaughn, I would really like to see him in one-on-one space with some opportunities. But I agree. I mean, Dak is going to have to carry the team because at the end of the day, we have to score. We're going to have to score to win. The spread moved from 3 to 9 after the Aaron Rodgers injury. So, and also total points moved down from 45 to 39 as of earlier today, which I believe is the anticipated lowest scoring of the game. So no matter how you look at it, a lot of projections out there.
Vegas is looking at a defensive matchup.
Mm-hmm.
It just worries me because when I think the Jets, I think people are going to underlook Zach Wilson. I really do. He's been here for a while. So I think that's what we're doing. Yeah. When we look at the Jets offense though, I think when you look at Zach Wilson, he's been there for a while. It's not, it's a second year now with Saleh. They kept him around. He's in the system. A lot of people thought they were going to look to trade him. He's a guy, he's got chemistry with Garrett Wilson. You add Dalvin Cook. Breece Hall last week did have a lot of yards. I know the one was the big yardage, but they have an offense that can really move. And I think like we saw last week with the Giants in that first drive, even throughout the game, they couldn't run the ball as much as they wanted to, but in that first drive, they really seemed to be running the ball very well. So I think we're going to see a lot of running game, and I think Dallas is going to need to figure something out because I think the Jets, they're going to rely heavy on pounding the ball. Last week, after Rodgers went out of the game, they ran the ball more than they passed it. So that really tells you what their philosophy is going to be. It's going to be a lot of that. If you remember those Mark Sanchez Jets teams, Zach Wilson had 21 attempts. They had 24 rushing attempts. Now 4 of them were Wilson, so they may not have been, automatic runs, but that just tells you what they're looking at. They're going to put the ball on the ground. They're going to let Dalvin Cook and Breece Hall try to run through this defense and only really need Zach Wilson. I think it's going to be a lot of boots to take advantage of his athleticism. And I think that's what they did some last week. He didn't throw the ball a lot. He didn't have a lot of yardage. In fact, he only averaged 6.7 yards completion. He's about 66% completion, so it's not terrible. 2/3, but it's dump offs. It's nothing big. He's not going to throw the big play. Garrett Wilson had 5 catches for 34 yards. So it just shows you they're trying to dump him the ball and let him do his thing. So I think that's, what we saw last week, I think is a lot of what you're going to see this week, with the Jets. Correct?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, if you look at all their biggest plays, like you said, it's Bryce Hall running the ball. It's off a screenplay. The wide receiver pass that we just saw, like 2 plays before, was probably the largest throw pass of the game. Here was the one-on-one matchup. In the red zone is where they're going to be allowed to have more creativity, take advantage of those one-on-ones. But ultimately, if we can shut down Bryce Hall, who looked a lot better than Dalvin Cook, by the way,
What a catch. That kid is so good.
Factors. Oh, yeah. I mean, it was incredible. And, Garrett Wilson plays with a lot of swag.
Think the big thing is for us, and like, I think the Jets are going to need a lot of him. Garrett Wilson, he's not going to be able to get away from anyone now. Like last year, you could move him. Like you said, you can move Diggs away from, Sauce. You can move players away from great corners. That's the thing about this year having Stephon Gilmore, is you can move Garrett Wilson around. Diggs or Gilmore is going to land on him. And even Bland is not a terrible corner. He's shown he's turning into something. So it's going to be tough for, I think, Wilson to be able to get in that space where he's going to need to be able to play. And the defense, Dallas's defense is fast. So I don't see a lot of big plays after that. That, to me, they really are going to need that yards after catch big time. But I don't see Dallas's defense allowing it.
No. And this is exactly, if you're the defense coming into this game, now first they were motivated because they were really offended and really ticked that there was a lot of talk about the Giants potentially coming out with a win on Monday. Now, I think they might feel a little bit of somewhat disrespected that the Jets defense, the whole talk coming into this week seems to be like the Jets defense, not so much the Cowboys defense. So I think they're going to continue to want to make a statement week after week. And I'm pumped, and that's why I'm starting to bring out the swag, Jason. This win streak, for every game we continue on the win streak, I'm going to add to the swag. All right, I don't know if you'll be able to see my face come 49ers game.
So I want to ask you a question though, because I agree the Jets defense is getting a more praise. It's to me, it's deserved. Like I get they gave up points, but Josh Allen and that offense is vastly better than the Giants in theirs. So I think the praise for that Jets defense and how great they played, I think is very well deserved. Because we all know the Giants don't have an offensive line. Waller's always injured. If you take Barkley out of that game and you make Daniel Jones have to beat you, they can't, because he can't even stay upright. So I do think it's deserved. And to see the Jets shut down an offense like the Bills it gives me some worry. It gives me worry.
I'm going in pretty confident. I'm not all that worried. I know that they played a really, a really good team in the Bills. You just saw really, Josh Allen try to do too much, but no matter how you look at it, they did keep them at 16 points, and they did have to come up with those extra 3 in a fourth quarter drive to force the game into overtime. And to talk a little bit about more their potent offense and what our defense needs to do, I think we've already covered a lot of that, and keeping Bryce Hall in check. Now Hall, he had over 100 yards with just 10 carries, a couple explosive plays. Cook had 13 carries. I think my guess and my prediction would be that Bryce is probably going to have more carries, or if not equal to Cook, going into this game. I think you mentioned Gilmore earlier in the show. I would like to see Diggs follow Wilson, because I feel like Gilmore is more of the physical. If the physical guy, like I want Gilmore against AJ Brown, but I would prefer Diggs against the quicker receivers, because you saw what he did against Jefferson. He shut him down.
Yeah, but I feel like Gilmore could just throw like Gilmore could throw him. I think both of them are going to throw him. I don't think you see Wilson having a big day. Um, but I wouldn't mind, but I just don't think I think you got too many good corners. I think you got to let them both eat, and they both look great last week. The whole defense looked great, but I do think it's going to be tough. I think it's Dallas. I'm worried that their defense is not going to hold up against this run game because I think it's going to be tough to figure out because they're just going to be able to run the ball. And like we saw last week, and I know and we harped on it a little bit. Dallas all offseason, we mentioned it. This is another matchup to me that's like last week. It's a great matchup to test your run game. I don't think the defense plays as well. I don't think everything goes right for Dallas, but I think this is a good matchup again to see how good that run defense is. I think because the Jets are going to come out running much more than the Giants did because they know Zach Wilson isn't going to beat this team.
So as a Cowboys fan, would you, and you know they're going to run, would you prefer they try to run the outside or inside?
Oh, to me, like, I would rather them run outside because Dallas's defense is fast. I'd much rather not them do powerhouse. Like, if you're running up that middle, I think if you're going power football, you just run this defensive line over because they're small. Your linebackers are small.
Yeah.
You're putting safeties in that box. They're not guys that want to go in and, you don't, Hooker is a hitter, but you don't have they're not big. You don't have Cam Chancellors. You don't have Ed Reeds. You don't have Dawkinses. You don't have those type of guys. So they're not big. So to me, if they're running outside, I think that gives us an advantage because it's more this defense is fast and can hit that hole. I think if they're trying to play power football and going up the gut, I think then Dallas has a problem.
All right. Well, we're gonna see if we have our money's worth with Mazi. And remember, our run defense did get better. I think the average per rush went down by almost 2 yards when Hankins joined the team. So we got Hankins in there. We got Mazi. Van Der Esch is going to have to do his thing. He's the biggest guy we have outside of the D line. So I guess there's some valid concerns there. We're going to see what we have. There is a chance that they might expose us. I hate to say it, but there is going to be that chance. But hey, if we get up 2 possessions,
I think that's the key.
They become one-dimensional, just like every other team tries to be one-dimensional with us. Then Parsons is just having a feast.
That's what I think the key to a lot of this season is against, your top tier rushing teams. Because, the Jets defense, James Cook had 12 carries last week. I held to 3.8 yards. They averaged 4.4, but most of that's Josh Allen on his 6 runs. So I'm a little worried, especially like I'm hoping. Have you heard anything about Smith? Have you heard anything about Tyler Smith if he's back this week?
He had a limited practice today, I believe, and he is pushing to be a go per Mike McCarthy's interview today.
So that's tough, man. If you're missing, I just don't like that because that defensive line, really shut down Minnesota. No, I'm sorry, Buffalo's run game. And Josh Allen, well, Diggs did a lot. He couldn't do anything else outside of Diggs. It was 3 interceptions, 5 sacks, kind of a lot of running around for his life. So I'm worried if, Dallas needs to have, I think, a complete game. You can't get one dimensional if you're Dallas either. I think you guys stay within it. Don't try to get up quick, big early. Like, I don't think they should try for the big plays right away. I think they should just let it happen organically because I don't want to start chasing. If you start chasing that lead and not just letting it happen, I think that's where you get in trouble because Dak last year, he still has me worried. And this is a type of team where if Dak tries to do too much, the Jets defense will totally take advantage of him and make him pay.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, well, one of my big concerns is Cooks, if he's going to be able to go. He had a minor sprain to the MCL, I believe was the diagnosis, and that was mentioned, if not just earlier today, maybe late yesterday. So he's been limited in practice. We'll have to wait and see if he's going to be a go, but that third option. Now there's been a lot of high praise for Jalen Tolbert, but it's still a pretty big gap between the two. But I don't really, unless it's like pick six turnovers on our own territory. I
That's
really
what I'm worried about.
I don't see the Jets running up the score on us.
Oh no, I don't see it as a run-up score, but I think if you make Dak, I'm worried about the Jets making Dak have to beat them as well
Okay.
right now. Because like I said a lot, I just don't trust in Dak. And if they shut down that defense, I think Gallup's going to have to be a big part of that offense. Because I think they need some big shots this week. I think you need to take a few deep balls. Like you mentioned last week, you wanted to see more. The shots they took last week were kind of out of bounds, not, more just throw it up and see what happens. And I think this week they need to take some of them shots to Gallup because I think it'll help ease up. Because if Dak looks like he did last week, which wasn't consistent, I get it was raining, but if he's inconsistent, dropping and people are dropping balls, it could get dangerous. I think they may look past this matchup. This is one of those you hope they're not looking past because Rodgers isn't there now.
Mm-hmm. Now, this team just seems to me to be way too focused. Since training camp, like they know they have to take care of business. So I don't see them us underestimating the Jets. I mean, it's gonna, like we said, it's gonna be a low scoring game. I think I would like to see us get to 20. 20 points. We're coming up. We're about to wrap up here in a little bit, so I'll give my prediction. But I actually would like to see, to a certain degree. Of course, I want to win the game, but if you're going to be forced to see if Dak can get you the win against a top tier defense, better it be in week 2 than in January.
I agree. I'll agree with you there. I think that's very accurate.
So let's see what we have. Let's build that confidence, because one way or another, by the time we get to December, we're not going to be really harping on what took place week 2 of the season with 75-80% Brandon Cooks. We don't really fully understand yet what that looks like, but it's going to be fun to watch, and I'm excited.
So to me, when I look at it, if the Jets are going to win this game, I think when I look, I think it's going to be tough. But for me, the Jets to win this game, first, you have to play turnover-free football. And second, that defense has to hold Dallas. To me, you have to hold them to 17 or less. I think and even 17 may be tough, but I think if you play turnover-free football offensively, you're not giving Dallas the short field. Your defense, if they're playing, so yeah, it really has to be like turnover-free football. Over 130 rushing yards combined, maybe 150 rushing yards total for both of those guys. And you have to hold the defense to 7 or the offense to 17 or less. Because I just don't see the Jets offense scoring a lot. So to me, I think that it's a lot of that. It has to go a lot of things have to go right for the Jets. I think those are the 3 components. If that happens, you mix all that in, that means Dallas had a bad game and the Jets are walking away with a victory.
Okay. I would say Jets need to hold the Cowboys to 13 points.
You should think of 13.
Yeah, I think 13 is where they need to be if they're going to come out with a win. I don't see them, winning a shootout, and it's not going to be a shootout anyway. But I don't see their offense putting, more than 2 solid or scoring drives. Now, if we have problems with our run defense, I trust that Dan Quinn will make some adjustments.
I agree with that. I think he understands the defensive, what they aren't. He knows 100% what they are, and so he's going to game plan for that.
Yeah, exactly. And we're actually very fortunate that since Zach Wilson was going to go in anyway, that he went in the first quarter and not the fourth quarter. So we really saw how they try to manage the game with him at QB. And again, they are at it from a preparation standpoint. They are at a disadvantage because we didn't really have to show a whole lot of tips and tricks. We'd have to give a lot of that away on tape.
No, 100% right. Yeah, they didn't do anything really. You didn't need to.
Yeah. So for me, I have two main points for the Cowboys to walk away with the win. So one, we have to win the turnover battle. So I'm okay if we have whether it be an interception or a fumble, but if we give one away, we got to get two. Our defense has to get two. So however that's split, if we win the turnover battle, I believe our offense will be able to move it better than theirs. Thus, we should come away with more points. But I do have our offense having to score 20.
Wait, you think they have to score 20? You just said
I said that the Jets need to keep the Cowboys at
30. Oh, okay. So to me, it's tough because this is another one of those games where you should win. Don't look past. I think Dak just needs to ball out, really, because this is your opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
You have a lot of doubters right now. You have a lot of people doubt McCarthy. I think this is an opportunity against a great defense, where your defense should keep you in the game. I think you let Dak go. To me, they should play. They got to run the ball well. And I think it's just winning the turnover battle. If Dak doesn't turn the ball over, I think Dallas is too good to lose to this team. So you can't, or I don't want to say Dak either, because you can have some stupid fumbles. But I agree, you have to win the turnover battle in this type of game, because the Jets are going to run the ball and play great defense. You can't afford any ill-advised turnovers in your zone.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I think Dallas will start to get in trouble. But as long as they win the turnover battle, I really think this is a game you let Dak get his confidence up. Hit that West Coast offense. Get them slants. Let those boys move.
I like that. I like that a lot. A lot of times Josh Allen was throwing on the run. One of his touchdown throws was on the run. Would you say over or under Dak will have 18 rushing yards?
Ooh, I'm going to go over.
Okay.
But I don't think it's because he's running for his life. I think he's sitting some stuff, waits, and then takes off a few times.
I didn't like how they had, I think, at least one, maybe two QB runs in that game with the Giants. I was really nervous
with it. He's 2 years out now. He his injury, I think, was a freak injury. I'm okay. If it's going to happen, it's just going to happen. I find it, you got to let him play his game. That's his game. That's, for his first few years, that's what he did. I think last year, a lot of it was he wasn't prepared to move around. I think that was a lot of it. So you get him moving, letting him, do what he does that we've watched him do, make plays. I think that is a better team. I think it's much better. So what do you have for final score? What are we going final score this week?
So final score, I am kind of going with somewhat the odd makers here, but I'm going on the under. I have Cowboys 20. I have Jets 10.
Okay, I got 24-10.
Okay.
I think Dallas comes. I think it's a pretty easy. I think it's a late 10. I don't see them moving the ball early. I see Dallas really getting a lead and control in the game. And something dumb happens late where the Jets can put some stuff together. But I see Dallas handling this game pretty easily. It is worried though. I hope they don't look past it, because it is a game that can bite you. This is a game you don't want to lose, especially going forward. Those ones you need to win, with Minnesota looking like they might beat the Eagles tonight. They're Jalen Hurts is not looking great. Minnesota looking like they might beat them. This is a game you need to win, especially if the Eagles lose to Minnesota. You got to go out and handle business against the Jets early in the season. You need to start racking them up. And I think we both said, we both had them win this game, even when they had Rodgers. So I don't think it's anything. If Rodgers was there, I'd be a little worried, because that defense is very good.
Well, depending on his showing, what that would have looked like against the Bills, I would have thought one way or another. So you have 24-10. I have 20-10. Madden, simulation, which, by the way, Madden is 1-0 on my PS5. I did have to go in and put Zach Wilson as starting QB, so I did make that adjustment. Madden has Cowboys 42 and Jets 7.
Wow. So the Cowboys offense is amazing.
And yes, Dak had 5 touchdowns, 400 passing yards.
I'm going to go ahead and say under on both of those. I'm going to go ahead and take the under on those.
But yeah, I'm excited. It's going to be for those watching. We intend to look. We're going to try to be live just before the game. Have a couple pregame, thoughts. Go through injuries. Talk about some other games that took place since we are a 4:30 Eastern game, and just see how the game kicks off first couple minutes.
So we can't. Yeah, if you guys, hopefully you guys join us. We'd love to see you, have some chat with you guys. I think it'd be amazing. We're really excited. And again, you guys can check us out on all of our social medias, the Cowboys Takeover on Instagram, on Facebook, and on Twitter. Leave us a line, drop us, tell us what you think. We really appreciate all the things we're seeing, all the views. We're just very grateful for it. We're very happy that you guys, even just listen to us. We're just two guys that enjoy the Cowboys and hoping for a great season, hoping to bring it back so we don't have to hear the VHS joke anymore. That thing's kind of tiresome at this point, but we're just really thankful for the listens. And again, list us on, follow us on everywhere, all the social medias, give us a like, follow us, please. We love you guys. Like Aaron said, go Cowboys. Let's get this dub this week, gentlemen.